All right, friends. Who else is feeling really sad? Anybody else? We all love depression. Yeah, me too. I'm glad we all feel the same way. My laptop is freaking out right now, so give me like 2 seconds to figure out which tabs I can close. What's up, Cinephile? Oh, is that Nandan? Oh, dang, I guess it's not. On a scale of 1 to 10, um, so my mouth is still messed up, which makes me a little bit sad, but things are going pretty well with the nonprofit, which makes me happy. But things with Dr. Mike, I'm a little bit frustrated, so that makes me a little bit sad. Spoke to my girlfriend earlier. I always like talking to her, so that made me happy. There's a cat that walks by that looks kind of like my mom's cat, but a lot bigger. That makes me happy when I see that. I dropped 2.5 racks on getting my car fixed on Monday. So that made me sad, but it was about was what I was predicting. I The thing about my car, it's a 2012 Hyundai Elantra, right? In my opinion, best car. For a lot of reasons, it's not. But ironically, I say to everybody all the time, it's the best car. In Quebec, this was for a very long period of time the most popular car, like, period. So I literally cannot drive outside of my parking without seeing at least two or three other exactly my cars on the way to wherever I'm going and then on the way back. So part of me is really just keeping this car for the meme more than anything else because everybody has this car. And actually, on the Peter Attia thing, I am wondering if that's going to make more or less competition for Dr. Mike, right? We don't know yet. So we'll see how that plays out. But with the car, I'm going to continue to just like pay as much as it takes to keep getting it rebuilt when the parts fail so that I can keep the body of this car because it's just too good of a joke for me to think like literally everybody has this car and I drive this like garbage over 10 years old now, like I guess 14, 15-year-old car with the right, like just the way that it aligns with everything else that I do. I think it's hilarious. So I will continue to invest as much. Yeah, Ship of Theseus is fuck. I'm going to continue to invest as much as it takes. And there's the little cat that looks like my mom's cat. What a blessed day. I'm going to continue to invest whatever it takes to keep this car going as long as I possibly can. They could tell me you're going to need a new engine. It's going to cost you $6,000. And I'd say, okay, fucking run it up. Right? That's how dedicated I am to this bit. I do everything for the memes, 100%. But that's how I'm doing. So, mix of sad and happy moments. With the nonprofit, um, our first meta ads, they've run meta ads in the past, just not well. So those are going to go live on Monday, which I'm pretty excited for because with the setup that we have, I don't know how well the landing page is going to convert, so that's going to change the math. But we've got a pretty high allowable cost per acquisition. And based on my projections, we should be able to hit like way below that, again, depending on how the landing page converts. So kind of launch those, start to get the data. We also get a little bit more budget than I was expecting, which means that we can almost double, yeah, I guess pretty much double the ad spend. So very excited for that as well. With the B2B offer that I'm working on, everything's going fantastic. I just onboarded to work more like full time for them. So that's cool. I'm doing 4 hours a day in my mornings. Excuse me. And then the Dr. Mike stuff, I'm just frustrated because of how slow things are going. And there's a lot, you guys understand the standard that I have for myself. Not everybody has that standard for themselves. So Dr. Mike is fantastic. He's not the one I'm talking about. But there are just issues that are they're unsophisticated marketers, is what I'll say. So I yeah, I'm talking about it Broccoli. I'm worried because standards for myself and my work. I'm worried because I'm thinking to myself, if this is the best client I've ever had, and it's still like this, then there's no chance that ever any client is good. Period. Like it's always going to be problems. So then do I want to keep doing this forever and just be frustrated? Probably not. So I'm working on some stuff on the side to hopefully, I don't know if you guys were around to know Michelle. Nandan does for sure, and so does Irakli. But I don't know if anybody else here would remember Michelle. So I'm working with Michelle. Yeah, we're all twunking it. Oh no, copywriting agency would make me want to kill myself. I've already tried that. Michelle, I hired her to do some stuff for me, which it was actually perfect timing because she was working with an agency. And at the time, I was like, man, I need someone who I can trust, who I know is going to do good work, who I can, like, yeah, exactly, Michelle, who used to record all the office hours, who I can, like, just say, hey, go do this, and she'll be able to do it, right? So I was thinking, who can I have in my life, or who do I have in my life that's like that? And Michelle was the first person that came to my mind. But Michelle also was working full time with an agency. She'd just gotten promoted. She also lives in the Philippines, so there's like a 13-hour difference, right? Which can make communication a little bit hard. And then as I'm ruminating on this, I think like 2, 3 days of this, Michelle hits me with like when I text her good morning, because that's what I do. When I text her good morning, I'm like, hey, how's it going? And she told me that things weren't going well because the agency laid her off. So I saw that as my opportunity. Immediately asked her if she wanted to work together. So hired Michelle. Now she's working on the side stuff that I'm working on, and hopefully we can get that up and running. And I'm just going to use all of my money to invest in that, get that to a point where it's self-sufficient or like self-sustaining and is able to pay for whatever salary Michelle wants, able to pay for all the software, whatever advertising costs, et cetera, that we're using on that side. And then once we break that and we validate the model of what we're trying to do, then we can multiply it and hopefully build our own little thing around there. So, so that's my escape plan, if you will, if ever I get too frustrated with client work, which I expect will happen. Because right now I'm also realizing that I'm in a place where I'm just pushing myself kind of back towards what I was experiencing with bad, where I'm working all the time, I'm burnt out, and I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I just want to chill for a little bit, which I've been saying for 3, 4 years, whatever. But I think I'm finally at the point where I do actually want to chill a little bit. So I'm giving it until the end of Q1, and then we'll see what happens. But how are you guys doing? We all doing good except for Yusuf, who's sad, always. What happened to Yusuf? Oh, he's just sad always. Oh, never mind. He's actually pretty happy. Bobby's good. I recovered in my mouth. The awkward thing about this kind of surgery, now there's no more healing, or sorry, no more swelling, but there's still. Oh, why do I want to get out with it? Okay, sorry. um, the nice. I'm glad to hear that, Yusuf. Today's office hours is going to be reviewing the community post challenge, so we're going to spend a lot of time doing that. There is a lot of depression in chat, always. But I do want to escape everything because everything sucks, is the TLDR. Now, I was trying to kill time. It's been about 15 minutes. We'll jump into the community challenge because uh, I just wanted to give everyone the time to join. But let me. RIP, Sonia. We can get antidepressants when RFK Jr. starts believing in mental health, but I don't know if he necessarily does. All right. So can we all see this? Yeah. When? Follow in. See? Yes? Okay, perfect. Yo, let's go. My yanking Mike is Swanee, right? So you'll notice on here, if we look through the submission status, this second column, that most of them were rejected. Now, I did not, and I will not, so we'll move on. um, if I were to ask you guys who see that you did submit something, there were about, I guess, 20 submissions-ish. If you see that you were rejected, you know why you were rejected. And basically 100% of the rejections happened for the exact same reason. So we need to have a little conversation between us. Every single one of these that was rejected, I rejected them not because the copy was bad. I rejected them because there were lies. People just made up stories and they wrote the copy around a story that they invented, and that's what they submitted. Now, let me ask you, is it morally or legally okay to lie in our copy? Or just in life, you know? I guess in life it's not illegal, but it's absolutely not. And especially when you're writing copy, you cannot write anything that intentionally or even not intentionally, but you can't write anything that misleads somebody. You can't make up quotes, you can't make up stories, you can't make up testimonials. That, for one, is wrong, but two, that will get your clients in trouble if ever the FTC or like one of the organizations that's responsible for looking at this stuff catches it. Yeah, you can quote yourself. There are little silly things that you can do like that for sure. But you can't say, for example, um, Harry lost 45 pounds using these exact methods. If Harry doesn't exist, if Harry did not actually lose 45 pounds exactly, if Harry did not use 40 or lose 45 pounds with these exact methods, right? Like there are a lot of layers to this. You just have to only ever be completely honest with everything you say. Even something like, excuse me, I'm going to use the name Harry again because he's one of the actual clients. But imagine Harry lost, I don't remember how much weight he lost, it was a lot, but we'll say 45 pounds. If Harry lost 45 pounds with the Sculpt by Science coaching program, and we're promoting the group, then we can't say that Harry lost 45 pounds doing the group stuff, right? Because that's misleading. Because then people will make the association in their mind that if they join the group, they will also be able to lose 45 pounds because Harry was in the group and he lost 45 pounds, which is not true, right? So we have to kind of think of it in a way where we're saying to ourselves, if someone who had no knowledge and was very unsophisticated and whatever, if they saw this copy, what would they believe you're trying to say? Not what did you mean, but what would they believe, right? And then you have to judge your copy based on that. So think if your grandma read this copy, or like your mom, if she's old enough, if your grandmother or your mother read this copy, would she believe what you mean, or would she believe something else that's not true? And if she would believe something else that's not true, then you need to change your copy to make sure that whatever you're saying is or whatever is interpreted by what you're saying is the truth. So if I'm promoting, for example, this group, I can't say Harry lost 45 pounds doing the thing, right? But what I can say to get around that and to make sure that it's honest is that Harry lost 45 pounds with our coaching, and the principles that we taught Harry in the coaching are the same principles we used for the course. Harry lost up to 45 pounds. TLDR, don't lie in your copy. But there are ways to structure your sentences to make them true and still be able to make big claims. Now, a lot of copywriters quit Agora, and the Agora companies I don't know how many years ago now, but a lot of copywriters quit that when Bill Bonner said that they have to be a lot more strict about compliance because those copywriters were like, well, how am I going to make sales if I can't make these crazy claims, right? To me, that just means you're not a good copywriter. If you cannot sell your stuff persuasively by telling the truth and you have to make things up, then you're just not good, period. Because our job is to be able to do that, is to be able to sell stuff, I guess not, I was going to say ethically, but like just not misleading people, right? Don't do it. Don't lie, period. That's the end of my rant. So you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 rejections. I believe all because these people made up stories. Why do I think it's wrong to type in Harry's perspective? Because you're not Harry. But I know specifically for your question, I'll just open it up so everyone else can see. Because you wrote your post from Harry's perspective. So yes, it's, well, we can't pretend to be Harry. So for one, it's wrong for that reason. But then two, because it's posted by Dr. Mike to Dr. Mike's channel, right? So it's like, it's not Harry's profile, it's Dr. Mike's profile. You absolutely should have just asked John for stories, or even better, since you're all copywriters, you should have fucking done your research and just watched some testimonials. They're all over the website. Isn't it true that making a story helps the prospects to imagine properly? So yes, but you can't just make up a story. You can tell stories that are true. You can't invent stories. Yeah, they all fumbled ironically. 100% Nandan. So this one, just to go back to your question, Omar, because it's like it's posted by Dr. Mike on Dr. Mike's profile, and so it doesn't make sense for it to be written by Harry. But we'll go through some of the rejections because there are still things that I would say practice until you feel like you understand a little bit, but you're never going to feel ready to start looking for clients. So you just got to eventually go with it. What I would like to do, there were some that were rejected because they were fake stories, but the copy was still good. So we'll go through some of those and I'll say what I liked about them, what I didn't like about them, what I would have changed if I would use it. And then we'll go through the ones that are accepted. I haven't actually, so for anyone who's waiting on my feedback for stuff, I didn't get a chance to look at anything at all yesterday. I'll do this like today or over the weekend. And so we'll look at Yusuf's, we'll look at, I don't know if your name is actually Dressel or if it's D Wrestle or what it is. We'll look at this one, we'll look at Alex, and then we can look at the ones down here also if you guys want to. But the main thing, so we'll start with Sonia's. The main thing when you're writing copy, and I think this is the biggest issue that I see when I look at anybody's copy, is that you need to get very clear on your idea first, right? So before you write anything, you need to know what is the benefit or what is the pain point, like desire, objection, whatever. What is the big thing that I'm trying to communicate that targets the person who I'm trying to target, right? The idea is an attractive thing to the person that I'm speaking to. So, for example, with this one, a caloric deficit is not enough or was not helpful for Kathy to lose weight. So, the idea that we're going with here is hey, if you're trying to lose weight, but you're stuck, it has nothing to do with a caloric deficit. There's actually other stuff that's involved in this process. And so that's an attractive idea, right? That's a good idea for the right audience member. If it's a female who's probably like 35, 40 plus, she hit a plateau, she's probably down to 1200, maybe 800 at the least. Like some of these women go crazy with how few calories they eat, and she's still not losing weight, then this will be an attractive idea to her. So, from an idea perspective, that's fantastic. And then you just want to make sure that you're leading with the most emotionally compelling presentation of that idea. So this, for that like first layer of the idea, that's fantastic. Now, if you've read the copywriting cheat code, the editing section, we talk about 3 different levels of edits: the idea, the narrative, and the lines. That is the idea. So the idea is is this thing attractive, desirable to the person who I want to be reading this copy? In this case, the answer is yes. Now, what is the narrative? The narrative is making sure that you see you later, Nandan. The narrative is making sure that you're able to maintain that idea all the way through. So if you start talking about caloric deficit is not enough to help Kathy lose weight, then you need to continue through the story of the copy, whether that's going to be like a story or just or using story to mean like from beginning to end. But is the story of the copy going to maintain that idea all the way from the start to the end? Or do you go off on tangents? And a lot of these pieces for this challenge and just in general copy that I review, that's the biggest issue, right? Most people are pretty good at getting the idea down. The narrative is where it falls apart. And if your lines are really good, like even if you wrote beautifully, it doesn't matter because the narrative is not good, right? So you need to have a really good idea. Otherwise, people won't even start your copy. But you need to maintain that idea all the way through or people won't read it, right? And then only when you know that you've got a good idea and you know that you've got a good narrative, then you should look and be more nitpicky with your word choice and different things like that. So the narrative in this should be starts with caloric deficit is not enough. And then obviously I want to know next, so what is the real reason why I can't lose weight? It's all these other things. And then transition to whatever my offer is. That's what that narrative should look like. And the narrative, like the messaging strategy in a short piece of copy, is going to be pretty simple because you can just focus on that one idea, connect it to whatever your offer is, and then do a pitch for your offer. And that'll be the very basic layout. Everything is going to follow. Everything is going to follow that structure essentially. So if we look at this then, see Irakli, the way that I detect AI, you just look at it and you're like, oh, line spacing, why is it like this? Because they just copy pasted. Why do we have this? Like, why is this not line breaks here? So people just copy paste. So we'll read this and we'll see, yeah, exactly, formatting issue. We'll see, did Sonia manage to maintain the, yeah, maintain the narrative all the way through, keeping it focused on the idea? Or if not, where did it break and what would we have done to fix it? So for this, for this one, a calorie deficit didn't help Kathy lose weight. And no, she wasn't cheating on her diet, skipping workouts, or lacking discipline. She followed her plan closely, trained 5 days a week, and worked 40 plus hours every week. So right away, do you guys feel like the narrative from just the first line to the second line is maintained? Or do we feel like the narrative already broke? For everyone who's just joining us for the first time, welcome. This is Office Hours. Right now we're doing copy reviews. And the specific topic that we're covering with these reviews is a 3-step editing process where we look at the idea, the narrative, and then the lines. So if you just keep hanging out, you'll get more of the context as we go through this. Yeah, there's a big leap. Exactly, Bobby. So we see that first idea of a caloric deficit is not enough to help you lose weight. And I'm attracted to this, and I'm like, okay, cool. If I'm trying to lose weight and my calorie intake is very low, then I'm intrigued because I want to know what is the real reason why I'm not able to lose weight. And then it goes into she wasn't cheating on her diet. Now, if I have identified with the problem that I'm eating a low amount of calories, will this resonate with me? Like the person who's attracted to this first line, will they be attracted to the second line? No, because if I'm the type of person who is in a caloric deficit, then the idea of cheating on my diet, like that's not the person that I am. That's a completely different person. Skipping workouts, that is unrelated to the idea of caloric deficit. And then lacking discipline, do I want to identify as someone who lacks discipline? Like, do I want to put a negative label on myself like that? Or do people usually want to think that they're doing their best and they're always doing as much as they can? Yes, right? So not only did we jump the narrative, like there's a narrative break there, if you will, because we start by talking to, speaking to and attracting people who and or their issue is that they've hit a plateau despite being in a caloric deficit. Now we're saying all of these other things. She followed her plan closely, trained 5 days a week, worked 40 plus hours every week. It's not the same, like it's just not the same idea anymore. Instead, what we would have had to do to keep this narrative going is talk about the other factors that could affect Kathy's weight loss. So I could have said something like a caloric deficit didn't help Kathy lose weight. And imagine like the supporting image here, we have it at the top, but we can see Kathy's before and after pretty much, right? So that's intriguing as well. And I understand it's going to be a transformation story. So I have that context when I start reading. A caloric deficit didn't help Kathy lose weight, right? And so then I can say, actually, when she started with us, we increased her calories to whatever the number of calories was. I'll just say 1800, right? We increased her caloric intake to 1800 calories per day, more than she had been eating for the last 3 years. And what makes it even better is that it wasn't just chicken, broccoli, and brown rice. We actually gave her meals like meal one, meal two, and meal three. So, how was Kathy able to experience such amazing weight loss despite eating these amazing, tasty, filling, whatever adjective meals? Well, it's because the real cause of weight loss plateaus is right? So, you see how now we maintained that idea through the narrative instead of jumping to something else that the reader probably won't find as related or relatable to them. Does that make sense? Perfect. Awesome. So for everybody, just period, this is something that I want you to really practice every time. It does seem super obvious when someone else points it out. So don't worry, like it's hard to catch these things for yourself. Every time you're writing, pay attention to this. Like, write your first draft and then go back and read it and be like, am I maintaining that narrative? Does the thread follow all the way through from the introduction to the conclusion? If you're able to start spotting these things in your own writing, that's going to give you a huge lift. And that's probably the biggest thing that most copywriters miss, sorry. In my experience, with all the copy that I've reviewed, this is always the number one thing, right? It's always the narrative that's broken. Because again, most copywriters are pretty good at getting the idea communicated effectively in that first line. But after that, then it just breaks. Yeah, you gotta like develop an awareness. Um, I think that the best way to do it, the way that I would recommend doing it, is to remove yourself from the equation. And this is more like a personal development thing. But ask yourself, like, if Jonathan were reviewing my copy, what would he say about it? And then you can look at it through a Jonathan being critical of your copywriting lens instead of trying to look at it through a like me myself trying to critique my own work lens, which is much, much harder. So if I were to say, God bless America, if I were to say, write my own copy and then be like, what would Sean say if he were reading this? And I'd be like, fuck, well, Sean would probably say this and this and this and this. And then I would be able to make those changes versus if I'm reading it, I'm like, yeah, that was pretty good. Right. And I'm not going to allow myself to be as critical. So now we'll move on to Rollins since our boy is here. So you see, my note to Rollins was the exact same thing with the narrative. I'll just read out exactly what I said. Weight loss, or the example, sorry. So, example of a narrative: weight loss is hard when you do it alone. The most successful transformations happen when you're in a group of people who can support you, coaches and friends who are doing it with you. That's why I created the community. You get access to coaching from me, plus courses, plus coaching with my coaches, plus other Sculpt by Science fans. Click here to join now, right? So, you see how there the idea is it's hard to lose weight by yourself. You need a community. This offer is your community. Click here to join the community, right? Whereas here, the journey to burning visceral fat can be confusing. That's attracting somebody who is confused about burning fat, right? They feel like they don't have enough knowledge or they don't have the right knowledge, and that's why they're stalled. But then in the second line, it can get lonely, completely different point, which makes it exponentially harder. If I'm a person who's trying to lose weight, like, do you feel like I can balance both of those ideas in my mind at the same time? Be like, yeah, it is confusing and also lonely, and that's why I can't do it. Probably not, right? Because you're creating two different paths for me to go down. Either I'm accepting that it's lonely, or I'm accepting that it's confusing. You've got to try to build a case to make me believe that this is the real reason why, and then your solution is the real thing that I can do about it. Some people definitely believe that they can do it on their own, but that's not a target audience if we're selling coaching. Not knowing the right tools to use or who to ask for help can drain most of your energy. So then again, this, yes, you can make an argument for like if you had the right people around you, you would know the right tools to use, but this is more of the practical confusing part. Oops, confusing part. And then here, who to ask for help. Then that, yes, is confusion, but that's more like community, right? So in every line, he's kind of playing with those two things. So with Rollins, I would have focused it on community. I would have had a narrative like, hey, it sucks to do it alone. So you need a community. So join our community, CTA. And then it would have been a lot better. Here with Adam, RIP to our boy. This is what he replaced his copy with after I told him that his copy was not good. And then he asked me why Walmart failed in Europe, and I told him I have no idea. Here, actually, let's open up this one from Bobby. Because Bobby's was really good. And Bobby's was really good. And so I left some comments for him to make a few modifications. And what the initial problem was, it was with the communication of the idea. So when we think about the lead, right, depending on the context, no, we'll get to yours after. Bobby's here. So depending on the context, the lead, you can either say like it's the first couple of lines or it's the first how many ever hundreds of words if it's a sales letter. In something super short like this, the lead is pretty much just going to be that first little chunk, right? Or if you're writing a meta ad, it's going to be just that first little chunk. Here, what's Bobby's idea? If you guys read through this really quick, and I'll read it out loud while you're typing, but in chat, can you tell me what was Bobby's idea here? Now, hundreds of men and women cannot skip a single meal or workout because they're emotionally wired to progress. Back in my college days, I can't imagine staying consistent without these people. We crack jokes, and with this, I'm going to use a creative that's like Dr. Mike and his friends in school. We cracked jokes, shared our wins and losses, and turned them into memories. A recent University of Texas study shows this is the superior way to become emotionally attached to your goals. In fact, your brain starts fixating on them and guarantees you get there. That's why I decided to bring that environment into weight loss. I built a small community. I'm there every day. If you join, you get all this stuff. Stop going at it alone. Come join us. So, what is the idea here? Like, what's the big thing that Bobby is communicating in the lead and then that he maintains throughout the copy? It's really solid. There are a few more changes that I'm going to ask Bobby to make just so that he can get some reps in, and we'll talk about those in a sec. But I hate Bobby too. So progress, yes, of course, but what is the it's either to make progress in anything with the community. So yes, exactly. It's the community angle again. But the thing that Bobby did that was really cool with this is you can't fail if you have this thing. And then he connects that to the community, right? So I thought that was a really, really great way to communicate it. So line by line, the narrative makes sense, right? Because he starts with, hey, this is the thing that you need to do in order to get success. I did it, the science proves it, and you can join my community now, CTA, right? Like it makes sense all the way through. So with the narrative being good, then we can get a little bit more granular with it, and we can start to think about the lines. line by line. Now, hundreds of women and men cannot skip a single meal or workout because they're emotionally wired to progress, right? We're going to change some of this for compliance, so ignore the compliance stuff for right now. But is there anything that we would change about just what's going on in that line? Men and women can't skip a single meal or workout because they're emotionally wired to succeed. Yeah, so for sure there are little word changes that we can make. I agree with you, Irakli. But just with the idea of this line, I think that, yeah, 100%. Through the entire piece of copy, always stick to a single idea. I think that this line is fantastic. Back in my college days, I can't imagine staying consistent without these people. So there's kind of a break here, right? Like there's a little bit of a jump. Men and women can't skip a single workout because they're emotionally wired to progress. Back in my college days, I can't imagine staying consistent without these people. There's not really a connection there, right? So there's a little bit of a break. Excuse me. I would figure out a better transition there. So we could say something like, um, thanks to this whatever, hundreds of men and women can't get the results or now are wired to get these results. And actually, I experienced the same thing in my college days, right? So then we can go into a little bit of a story there, as opposed to back in my college days, I can't imagine staying consistent without these people, where it feels like it's a little bit too much of a different idea. Me, Jonathan, having read the copy, I understand what he's trying to do here, but someone who's just reading this for the first time, that doesn't quite flow well. So I would say we need a better transition there, just to transition into the story of like I was able to everything that I achieved, like all of my good grades, all of my whatever, it was because I had these people by my side and these people helped do my whatever. And years later, I actually discovered a study that said that this is the real reason why. So I would expand on this as well and just say what the study was and what the scientific mechanism is that makes this possible. And then we can go into, and so it's guaranteed, and that's why I built the community and blah, 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 right? So, Bobby, would you be able to go and just do a better transition here into the story and then expand on this a little bit to explain what that mechanism is and then a transition better into this part before we go into the CTA? Perfect. Cool. So that is how I would modify that. But honestly, Bobby, fantastic, like really good piece of copy that we have here. Who else is in chat right now? I'll prioritize the people who are here and instead of like going through all of them. So yeah, we'll go through the accepted ones later. Omar, yes. Well, Omar, we we already talked about yours, so I'll keep it until a little bit later. Yes. Okay. So here, uh, this one. Ladies, stop trying to lose fat like a man. If you've been eating less and doing endless cardio, but your belly fat won't budge, it's not your fault. It's due to differences in biology and how fat works differently between men and women. Dr. Mike explains that women's fat cells have different traffic light receptors than men. Men respond to push harder. Women pushing harder spikes cortisol, which tells your body to store fat, not burn it. The clear cut fix proven to work by 100 plus women, including my own mom. We would be writing this in the first person. The 4 hour gap, eat 3 meals, space them 4 hours apart. 2, the post meal walk, get moving 10 minutes after for a custom breakdown of which foods and exercises suit your body type, so you don't have to guess, join the community. How do we feel about this idea of it's harder for women to lose fat than for men? Yeah, this happens every Friday. If you go into on Discord, if you scroll all the way to the top where the channels are, there's events, and then you just click on interested for the event called office hours. And once you do that, then you'll see it always in your day and your time zone. And when it's time and I start the event, then you'll get a notification for it. I was a bit too direct. I think I should have used a different appeal. I disagree. So everybody always wants to believe that they're different, and so they can't get results doing the thing that everybody else is doing. So the idea that for women it's different, Dr. Mike says ladies. actually, Ironically, so that's direct VO, Dr. Mike. So the idea that you are special because you're different, that's an appealing idea to every person. And we do know scientifically that yes, women, their bodies process things much differently from how men process them. So there is truth to saying that women need a different approach to weight loss than men, right? We can make that argument for sure. So I think that the idea is good. Now, with the narrative, let's go through to see if we maintain that idea from the start to the end. Ladies, stop trying to lose fat like a man. If you've been eating less and doing endless cardio, but your belly fat won't budge, it's not your fault. It's due to differences in biology and how fat works differently between men and women. If I'm a woman and I believe that women and men are different, and I want to lose fat, and I've been trying to eat fewer calories, and I've been doing a lot of cardio, but I'm still fat, does this appeal to me? Yes, absolutely. Right. So from first to second, I think this is great so far. Dr. Mike explains, again, this would be first person, so we would change it a little bit. But Dr. Mike explains that women's fat cells have different traffic light receptors than men. Men respond to push harder, or responding to push harder works. Women pushing harder spikes cortisol, which tells your belly to store fat, not burn it. Now, I left a comment here, proof, because I guess I didn't tell you, but no, there were no instructions to, like, you guys could have picked any avatar that you wanted to. So here I would just want proof that Dr. Mike does say this if we're going to say Dr. Mike says this. And I know he uses this metaphor and like he does say stuff like this. I would just want exact quotes. So Dr. Mike says that men respond to push harder, whereas women pushing harder is actually bad for you. Here's the fix: the 4 hour gap and the post meal walk. And for a custom breakdown, he didn't, like, nobody knows what's actually inside the offer. So we'll just pretend that this is inside the offer. Cool, good. The narrative from start to finish. Is it the same idea? Does it make sense? Yes, it absolutely does. What I feel makes this less powerful. Here, we could expand on this a little bit. So pushing harder spikes cortisol, which tells your body to store fat, not burn it. It works. We could get a little bit deeper into it, make it a little bit more painful, scientific. Like there's a lot of stuff we could do here. But the big thing for me is this. The proven fix is to eat your meal, or to eat 3 meals and maybe one snack, space them 4 hours apart. And then also after every time you eat, walk for however long. Then my CTA is for a custom breakdown of which foods and exercises suit your body type. You don't have to guess. You see what my comment is here. You just told me what to do. So it's very easy for me to say, oh, I don't need to join the group. I'll try this first and I'll see if this works. So you've given me a reason to not take action right now. And this is not a you thing. A lot of copywriters do this. And this is another thing that I correct a lot. You don't want to tell people go do this unless if it's something that's like really crazy and complicated, right? Like if I were to say, Ironically, you can easily fix your call funnel. All you have to do is update your sales process and and then I talk for like an hour about what to do. Then he's like, fuck, John obviously knows how to do this better than I do. John is much more capable of doing this. I'll just pay John to do it. It'll be so much easier and so much less stressful. Something like this, where I'm like, just eat 3 meals a day with 4 hours apart, and then also go on a walk every time you, after every time you eat. It's very easy for you to say, okay, cool, then I'll go do that if that's all it takes. Right? Then why would I join the group? So, does that make sense? Yeah, exactly. He just, like, he spilled the beans. He told you exactly what to do. So there's no more secret. There's no more reason why for me to take action. And just going up to another comment about the difference of speaking men to women, there, if you look at like the super alpha bro dog macho whatever, there's definitely an audience for that. Like you're fat and you're ugly and your wife hates you and your kids don't respect you, come buy my thing. Like, there are brands who do that and it works. For women, there are also brands who are a little bit more negative and it works. Not, I couldn't say like it's not a very common thing. So yes, if we're just looking at those alpha bro brands versus the normal female fitness brand, the statement of this is usually more abrasive and this is usually more supportive, completely true. But at the same time, with the male audience, you can still get results without putting them down. And with the female audience, you don't need to be super soft for it to work. So I just want to make sure that's clear. So do I aim to maintain curiosity and, well, I guess it depends on the purpose of the copy, but should I have aimed? Yeah. So what you want to do is if you're setting it up like this, be like, maybe we could say like, in women, pushing harder spikes cortisol, which tells your body to store fat, not burn it. And actually, there are three or how many ever things that women need to consider differently from men when it comes to weight loss. Those things are cortisol sensitivity, um, we'll say like menstrual cycle, and estrogen sensitivity, right? Something like that. I actually break down all of these and exactly what you should do to leverage these things in my group. So click here, join my group, right? You can explain still, but just don't give away what they have to do. Make it so that they have to join in order to get the information to teach them how to achieve their objective. I am one of the good ones. 6'2", by the way. I actually have to take a break from my feminist literature book club when I do office hours because usually I have that from noon to 6 every day. All right, so as we wait, understood. Thanks for giving me. Yep. No. Oh, you've got to learn these things before you're able to do these things, right? And the only way to learn is by failing. So you make mistakes, someone corrects you, you get better, and that's how things go. I forget who else said that they were here and wanted reviews. Just drop another period in the chat. Yeah, Omar, I'm going to save until the end just because we already looked at his stuff at the beginning. I'm actually only 5'9.5", so swayam. Let's see. There we go. Oh yeah, I'm saving Alec. I'm saving the ones that were accepted, these three, until the end. All right. So here, the idea is to show both fat loss and muscle gain through a story, advertise how everything is free and there's no risk, and that Dr. Mike doesn't give you a meal plan. He teaches you to make your own meal plan, plus the freebies and da-da-da-da-da. So, oh, he isn't here? Oh, I see him typing in chat. Bro. How much time did it take me to write my first copy? I have no idea. I think my first copy was probably like a Facebook ad. So a few hours maybe. All right, so looking at this idea, showing both fat loss and muscle gain through a story. So we could say that the idea is physical transformation. One thing I want to address though, something that copywriters mess up a lot when they do outreach. Advertise how everything is free and there's no risk. Do you guys understand why something being free does not mean that there is no risk? I love you, Rockley. All right, so explain to me why free does not mean the same thing as no risk. Or whoever has the answer.
I think according to me, it kind of feels like you have no credibility about it. And there is
Okay,
some
let's,
sort of
yeah, I'll ask a
accountability.
different question. So imagine, Sonia, if you were to tell me, hey, John, I'm going to write some ads for you for free. What are my hesitations still?
That this person doesn't value themselves. One, they might not know enough. and they're not really reliable or credible, or they wouldn't be giving it away for free.
Me as a business owner, do I care about how you feel about yourself though?
No, what I'm trying to say is this is what you would take back for yourself.
Yeah, so for
That
sure I would take that, but what is there's still risk for me, right? Even if something is free. So what would be the risk still for me as the business owner?
that I would lose out your profits, disrupt your brand.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. So even if you're offering me free work or anybody's offering me free work, there's still risk for me because there's all of these other things that could happen. If I put out a bad piece of copy, like Sonia said, it's possible that it disrupts my profitability. It's profitable that it disrupts my brand reputation. It's possible that like it does have negative effects on my business. So free does not mean no risk. We need to differentiate those things. So we need, yes, it's free, so there's no financial cost, but there could still be risk. And if we're going to talk about there is no risk, then we need to justify that and say there's no risk because of these other things, right? So, for example, if Sonia DMs me and she's like, hey, I'm going to write your copy for you and I'm going to pay for your ad spend. And I'm like, okay, so there's less risk. There's never going to be no risk, right? But there's significantly less risk because I think, okay, cool, well, I'll review the copy, so it's not going to hurt my brand. I'm not going to spend any money on running these ads because Sony's going to pay for it. So, like, I guess, yeah, like, unbeatable proposition, right? It's good. So, W Sonia. So, just wanted to make that point, but now we'll go and read this. After 8 years of being overweight, James was finally on track with both his diet and his exercise. Or actually, we can do the second one. By the time Kunter had started working with us, he was 8 years overweight. Multiple routines had failed him. After struggling with something for so long, people tend to lose hope. Our job here wasn't to help Kunter lose fat, but to also help him regain his lost sense of confidence. The next 4 months were a whirlwind. Whirlwind. This might sound unbelievable, but a client who was unable to lose any weight for the past 8 years had lost 35 pounds in just 120 days. That's roughly 2 pounds every week. If you're facing the same problem, going at Kunter's rate means that you won't even realize how fast you're losing fat until you look at yourself in the mirror. I teach you exactly how to get there in my free nutrition mini course. Yes, the same mini course where I teach you all you need to know about nutrition, including how to come up with your own customized meal plan, because you know your body and your goals best. But how's this going to take you closer to your goal? I have 2 entire modules dedicated to da 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 da. So we'll just, before we go into the offer presentation, just with the beginning part of that story, do we feel like the idea is attractive? Just simple yes or no. Do we feel like the idea here is attractive? Idea is meh. Losing 35 pounds after 8 years of no progress is a meh idea to you? Wind pisser? It's not okayish. It's yes or no. Yes, it's an attractive idea to lose weight after I stalled. This is what this audience wants. So yes, this is an idea that makes sense for this audience. Now with the narrative. By the time Kunter started working out, he was 8 years, or he'd been overweight for 8 years. A bunch of stuff failed him, and he started to lose hope. But our job wasn't just to help Kunter lose fat, it was also to help him regain his lost sense of confidence. To me, this is where the break happens, because we start by talking about weight loss, and now we go into confidence. So, well, there is no headline because YouTube community post. So, if we want to focus on fat loss, we should focus on fat loss. And we can go into like the science and all of that stuff and make it sound really, really cool. If we want to focus on confidence, that's a much more emotional thing, right? And so, yes, lose fat, gain confidence, benefit of the benefit of the benefit of whatever. But if we're looking at this and we start with the idea of confidence and then we maintain the idea of confidence, it's going to be a much different ad versus the one that we start with weight loss and maintain the idea of weight loss. So, yes, I agree, benefit of the benefit, confidence to appeal to emotion, etc. But saying our job here wasn't just to help Quinter lose fat, it's also to help him regain his lost sense of confidence. To me, that's too much of a break. So what I would have done is just focused either on lose weight or on confidence. You can use the confidence as a supporting idea later for weight loss, but, or I guess also on the flip side, you could use weight loss obviously to support the idea of confidence, but I would focus it. So, example one. By the time Kunter had started working with us, he had been overweight for 8 years. He tried every diet, every routine, every supplements or every fat burning supplement, and nothing worked. Because, and then you're going to see we're just going to repeat the exact same structure as the other ones, because the real reason for his weight gain was this really cool science thing that you've never heard of, and transition to my offer. People aren't really thinking about how being fat affects their life while scrolling through a YouTube post. Well, I don't know if you've ever been fat, my friend, but W means like win. So if you say like W Sonia, W Irakli, then it's just like good. Would it have been better if you focused on the benefit of joining the community after he explained how Quinter lost weight? It depends how he structures it. So the thing about being fat is that, or people, I should say, who are fat who want to lose weight, is that they've had an experience where they got triggered and they were like, I need to lose this weight, right? Like there's something that happens that makes them want to lose the weight, and then they're aware of it, right? So you go from not aware at all to now you're aware of it and you can't not be aware of it because you are. So for someone like this, if they've realized that they've had that moment, it could be like top five, I would say, just based on all the research I've done for Dr. Mike's stuff. Top five reasons or top five scenarios where somebody realizes that they need to lose weight. Number one, they had, this is the one I hear the most in our sales calls. They had a kid like grab their stomach or point at them or do something and be like, hey, you're fat, basically. Like that is a that is such a common one that I've heard it many times in our sales calls and in our testimonials. Yeah, 100% Yusuf, the goat. So there's that. Another one is a health scare with a doctor where they go in for a test or something and the doctor's like, hey, you are pre-diabetic or your cholesterol's too high or you have these other problems and so you need to lose weight because that's the only way that you're going to reverse these or you're going to be on drugs for the rest of your life. Another big one is that they were engaged in some kind of physical activity and they had the realization that they couldn't keep up with their kids or they couldn't do whatever they were trying to do. Like they're tying their shoes and they run out of breath or they can't make it all the way up the stairs, like some kind of physical experience like that. Excuse me. Another one that's pretty common is not being able to fit into your clothes. So I'm trying to put on like maybe I've got a wedding coming up in 2 weeks and I tried to put on the suit that I wore to the last wedding that I went to and it doesn't fit anymore. Or for women, usually it's like the pants don't. Yeah, GLP-1 is very hot. Pants don't close anymore, right? Or something like that. Or like in the dress, you see your stomach sticking out, things like that. And then the last one is usually related to like I caught myself in the mirror and I was shocked by the way I looked, right? Something like that. So, yes, there are a lot more situations that can trigger that, but those are the ones that I saw the most in my research. And I think there might be one other one actually, but those are usually those trigger situations for people. So, if we're going to speak to this audience, we know that they had some kind of trigger event like this. Now they're aware that they are fat and they need to lose the fat. So that's where we're meeting them in the, I guess, like messaging hierarchy or messaging strategy, whatever you want to call it. That's the starting point. Now, moving into this, um, I guess one easy way to think about it is like what what would be the emotion associated to the let me try to figure out how to express this. What would be the emotion associated to that trigger event that we could use that we could use to make this copy hit harder? Clothes fit wrong, jokes hit harder, you don't feel like yourself. I tried everything. Your partner notices 56-hour work weeks. What do you think? I don't know what this list is. So I don't know what to think. Good list. Those are definitely numbers. Sorry. So going back to this, um, RIP. Going back to this, the two routes that I would take are either like weight loss and keep it super scientific, or very emotional and you can pick one of those trigger scenarios and do whatever you need to there. But the narrative is pretty much always going to be like, hey, this thing is happening. This is the real reason. This is the real solution. Buy my offer in order to access that solution. Does that make sense? Yeah, there's a lot of really good stuff on Reddit, and you can use Perplexity to scan Reddit really quickly. Like I'll show you. Let me just try to find a Perplexity chat that I have. So here you can see, I was like, hey, this is what I'm working on. Can you find some quotes for me? And then it pulled up all of this. So I was like, how do people talk about their problems? Like, what are the most common areas of their body that they're mentioning? And what are the exact words that they're using? So you can use Perplexity to do this pretty easily and really speed up your research. And then you can see I just kept going in this thread. I was like, oh, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? So I recommend doing that whenever you're doing research. Or you can use Comet because it has Perplexity built in, haha, but I never have, so I don't know. I'd rather not go to Reddit. Well, then you can lose out on the benefit there. Who else is in chat? Who wants us to look at their stuff? Okay, okay, okay. Well, we're not quite there yet, so we're just talking about the community challenge posts. So we'll keep this here. But is there anyone else who wants us to review their challenge post before I go into the winners? I'm actually surprised that Mariam didn't submit one. I had originally here, if you go back far enough in the version history. Actually, let's see. Maybe I can show you. Yeah, I figured for sure Mariam's going to submit something. So I just put like the 4 people who I knew for sure were going to participate. RIP. Mariam knew that she was going up against Yusuf, and she was like, nah. Okay, cool. So we'll jump into the winners. We've got Yusuf, we've got Dressel, potentially, literally a duck, and then we've got Alec. So we will open these ones up, and I'll tell you what I liked about them. Quick question. Have y'all ever found newsletters from VOC? Expand on that question.
In .com Secrets, Russell talks about finding congregations on the internet, and he says something that if you go very deep, you'll find a specific newsletter. I was also subscribed to an international politics one, where brands and companies used to come and advertise. Just very niche platform, and I think
Yes.
a good
So
and
um, you like think as broadly as you can when it comes to research and VOC and stuff. And when I was working with the AI company, B2B, like very, very niche, it was the line of business that I was in was customer service. So what I would do to expand how much access to information I had because there was almost none, right? Like I can't just go on Reddit on the customer service leadership Reddit. Like that doesn't exist. So what I would do is like, okay, Google customer service, find the two forums that exist. What are the books that people are reading? Download all the books on Audible, listen to all of them. Every time anything is mentioned in those books, like any companies or any other resources, go and sign up for like those consultants' newsletters and read all their books and go to like watch the conference recordings, like as much as you have to do. So yes, be broad and think about like other sources of knowledge, especially if you're in an industry where the knowledge is very restricted because it's not a mass market B2C. All right, Mercy. Free live weekly calls with my coaches. How do you feel about that idea, chat? You'll soon get free live calls with my expert coaches inside the Sculpt by Size community. Expert coaches who are trained to identify why you keep hitting diet plateaus so you can start seeing consistent fat loss. The smartest way to lose fat, even if you work 50 plus hours a week, beyond basic daily supplements and vitamins to help you lose fat passively. Oh, excuse me. This means you get to ask all your burning questions about stubborn belly fat, gaining a muscular physique, and finding an optimal diet that fits your body and goals. The first call starts whenever, but in the meantime, you'll get instant access. Plus, you'll be surrounded by people who can support you. Obviously, I can't help all the people, so I haven't decided that's just this we'll be able to get rid of because I have all this information now. I just finalized this today. But just looking at this, could be more lucrative, meaning what? Meh, idea, IMO. You people are not listening. It's either a pass or a fail for the idea. Does the idea appeal to the audience or does it not appeal to the audience? Free live weekly calls with my coaches inside the community. I know that you said yes, Sonia, but I'm criticizing the one above you that says meh idea IMO. Free call is a W offer. So what I would change about this call, or sorry, about this idea is that people will not know what the value is of free live weekly calls with my coaches unless they already know exactly who Dr. Mike is. So I would want the hook to be stronger. Here we do explain what the value is, but am I even going to make it here if I don't click see more or whatever it is on YouTube? So yes, it is consistent, but that would be my critique here. So Mercy, if you want to go back and make this hook a little bit more compelling, then that would be the big change. And then bullets we can modify like these are good enough. This is the other line that I have beef with. Why do I have beef with this line? Who can tell me? Yes, that could be a good hook for sure. We would just, because this is like very direct and very offer focused, we would want to make sure that we're conveying the value and still talking about the free calls. So that's where the like the art part of it would come in. How do we communicate both of those things? The line, this means you get to ask all of your burning questions about stubborn belly fat, gaining a muscular physique, and finding an optimal diet that fits your body and goals. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think people will look at the number of subs he has, even if they don't know who he is and will want to join. I will correct you because I feel like that's wrong. I think it was already covered in the title. So, what I'm referring to here is a narrative mistake because we're saying we will give or we're going to get you on these calls with these coaches, are going to help you, or I guess teach you how to start seeing consistent fat loss. They're going to teach you the smartest way to lose fat, and they're going to give you the supplements, vitamins, whatever, to lose fat passively. Then, here, for the first time, for some reason, we talk about gaining a muscular physique. Does that make sense? Everything up to this point was about losing fat, and now we introduce a different idea that is not losing fat. Yeah, so there's a lot of other stuff that we can like change, add in, whatever. But if we're going to ask Alec to do some modifications, I would say change the lead, make sure that there's unattractive desire in there, and then keep the entire thing focused on fat loss, if that's what we're going to focus on. And once you do that, then it will be perfect. Thumbs up? Does that make sense? Thumbs down? What do you think? Not you, MFs. I'm talking to Mercy. Thank you. Okay, perfect. Cool. So go make those modifications and then it should be good to go. Dr. Mike community post by Alfred T. I came across this post on Reddit the other day, hundreds of upvotes, hundreds of comments. Not people asking for shortcuts, just people tired of how complicated nutrition and weight loss have become. Here were some of them. I think the problem is that there is just so much info now that it's completely overwhelming to sort the wheat from the chaff. Tracking calories was a huge pain in the butt. For every online fitness guru who tells you to do X, you can easily find another one who tells you to do the opposite. This doesn't surprise me at all. You see, most of these people aren't failing because they lack discipline. That's exactly why we built a free private group around nutrition and fat loss fundamentals. Inside, you'll get no extremes, no demonizing food, no start over Monday. Just simple principles explained clearly with support when you need it. Check the comments for the link. Super relatable, right? There is an idea that people definitely will connect to. This one is about the confusion, right? So the idea is confusion. Bro did cook, and I hate him too. But the idea is around confusion. And we've got the social proof. It's kind of like, don't worry, you're not alone, right? If I were to change things, which I will, but what I would change is here when we go through the transition, just because it's not super clear that what we're offering is the solution to these things, right? Like we're saying, that's why we build the private community, and the private community addresses this. But it's not until we get to here where we go back to, okay, so we have the solution for there, right? So we have these lines in the middle where I think we just need to do a better job connecting everything that came up from there into this, and then we'll be good to go. So it could be as simple as, this doesn't surprise me at all. You see, most people aren't failing because they lack discipline. Most people are failing because there's too much knowledge out there. And I wanted to create something to help people not be confused anymore. So that's why I built this private group. And I built the group around nutrition and fat loss fundamentals. And in the group, you'll get all of these things and no extremes, no da 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 da, right? So that is this one. I like it a lot. I'm going to change very, very few things here. And then we got this from our boy Yusuf. Is it Kasim or Kasim? Kazm. Chas. Spell it in Arabic for me so I understand how to pronounce it. Spell it in Arabic for me. Thank you. Oh, I can't make that sound, and you already know that. Awesome. That's the best I can do. All right, which one do you want us to look at? Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. The community post challenge, I added everybody like 3 times at the beginning of the week for it. So it was, I believe on Monday, I announced it for the first time. Do you want us to look at 1, 2, or 3, Yusuf? Or I guess 1, 2.1 or 2.2. Okay. Yeah, I know you're submitting 1, so we'll look at 3 then if that's the one that you want to look at. All right. So this one was disqualified because Yusuf made up a story. But most of the story is true. Office hours is definitely family friendly. I rarely curse, and I've only been shirtless once, which I found the photo of that. It wasn't office hours, but it was a live stream for Copy That. If you guys were around on the 4th of July, 2022, that was, I think, the last time I was shirtless on stream. All right. Harry was standing in line at an amusement park with his youngest son, waiting to ride the roller coaster they both love. Can you guys tell me why I don't like this lead? No, not pantless, unfortunately. Dr. Mike didn't. I did, yes. This is the story of Harry that was already posted, yeah. It doesn't relate to anything. Exactly, Omar. So it doesn't relate to anything. There is no moment of high tension or moment of high pleasure that makes me, the reader, know that this story is about weight loss, fat loss, whatever, right? In the one that you guys are thinking about, I'll show you what my lead was. My thing is basically just K-pop. Now it's a ton of Joji because of Yusuf. All right, so Harry was standing in line at the amusement park with his youngest son, waiting to ride a roller coaster they both loved. His son climbed in, the harness clicked shut. When it was Harry's turn, the staff tried to secure his harness, but there was no sound. It wouldn't close. Right, so this is that moment of high tension. In Yusuf's, I guess I could do it the same way, like if I really compressed it, but just the way it's structured, I guess. And mine for sure could have been better too. So if we want to lead with a moment of high tension, how could we do it in a way that this, like there's less of a delay, I guess. And if I were to critique my own piece, I would say exactly the same thing. But how would we do it to have more tension in this lead? If I were to rewrite my own thing, or if I were to rewrite this one for Yusuf, I would probably go into something about embarrassment, right? Like if I had the date, I would just say like, let's say it was on February 6th, 2022 or 2026. I could say something along the lines of, you did that, but you lied in the one that you did, wind pisser. Let me just see. Yeah, I don't know if that's good drama. So potentially something along the lines of February 6th, 2026, the day when Harry. No, that wouldn't sound good. I'd have to think about it a little bit, but I'm trying to think of a way to be like, this was the most embarrassing day of Harry's son's life because of this happening. So I'd think about it. None of the ideas I've given so far are good, but but um, something something related to, yeah, something just related to that shame or that embarrassment or that guilt, or it could be like the day that he ruined his son's probably not life. That's a little bit too extreme. Um, Harry's son had been looking forward to this day for weeks or for however long, right? Harry's son had been looking forward to this day for weeks, but Harry would ruin it all within seconds. Maybe something like that. But you know how amusement parks have those height charts where if you're below a certain height, you're not allowed? No, I've never experienced that because I've always been 6'2". So, unfortunate. All right, I was thinking of an angle where it's something like this, but how fat someone is. Maybe, but that is a little bit far-fetched, yeah. Oh, you want to see my feminist literature? Just look. All of these books, all of this, and then all that on that side, that's all feminist literature. I know you can't see them, but I'm not gonna move my Canon camera to show you guys my feminist literature. It will be easier for me to go through your submission, but we'll keep going to this one. His son climbed in, he fastened the harness, and he heard the click sound. For Harry, it was a different story. He tried to fasten the harness, but he couldn't hear the click sound. That's repetitive, so it just doesn't sound good, like poetically. At first, he thought the harness was broken, but after a few attempts, the reality hit Harry. He was too big for the ride. He and his son had to step off, and he has to live with the burden of ruining that moment for the rest of his life. The poetics of this, I think, are the thing that's throwing me off the most. Like, it just doesn't read nicely, which is something that I try to be very aware of. You don't have to, your copy doesn't have to sound good. Like, this is just a Jonathan thing. It just will sound better if it sounds better. Harry had been avoiding this problem for years as a tech exec. He was so focused on his career that he completely neglected himself. Overtime, not active, more takeout, you name it. The result, 270 pounds. His nightmare was going up the stairs. Every time felt like he was about to pass out. The worst part, he had to pretend that he was completely fine. As a result, he lost his confidence. His self-esteem took a hit. He felt like a failure for not being the best role model to his kids. From diet, exercise, supplements to medical aids, nothing worked. By the time I spoke to Harry, he was ready to give up. He said, "This is going to be my last attempt," but I wasn't going to let him quit. I gave him an evidence based approach. So the rest of this is good. I would say that to make it better, finding a way to get the moment of high tension higher, and then the poetics of it, like making it sound really nice, would be where I would focus my energy. RIP Yusuf. Can you put a mark on that for me? You want me to take notes for you, Yusuf? What are you in the train? Cool. Now we'll go through the one that Yusuf actually is submitting. Most fat loss advice is designed for people who have unlimited time. But let's be honest, you're juggling 40-plus-hour work weeks, clients, dinner meetings, travel, family commitments. You don't need another 2-hour deep dive, another course, or even a podcast. All you need is a protocol that delivers results. I feel like, Yusuf, tell me if I'm wrong, but didn't I already tell you not to say you don't need thing that we're offering? So listen for everybody else. If I tell you, hey, you don't need a course to lose weight, join my community to get access to the course to lose weight. Do we feel like that's a thing that's going to help us or a thing that's going to hurt us? We do feel like it's going to hurt us, yes. So we don't want to do that. We want to, when we're positioning against alternatives, We want to make sure that we're calling things out that our competitors are doing, but will not overlap with what we're doing. That's why people switched from webinar to free training, for example, or like live Zoom class or things like that. Yeah, exactly. You don't need type X, instead you need type Y. It's like you don't need a webinar to learn how to do e-commerce. Just come to my live Zoom class to learn how to do e-commerce. Like it's literally the same thing. No, I would not use the same words at all. That's why you'll notice in I'm not going to say all because I probably don't do this all the time, but in most of the copy that I write for Dr. Mike, I talk about like diets and exercise routines and da da da. And whenever I talk about our stuff as a general category of what they're buying, I talk about a protocol, right? So you don't need another diet, you don't need another exercise plan, you don't need another supplement stack. What you need is a health protocol. And if you can differentiate or like categorize things like that, like the solutions that haven't worked for you are these things, the solution that I have is this thing, then it's going to help them not create that association between everything that's failed them in the past to the thing that now I'm trying to sell them will work. Does that make sense? Okay, perfect. Cool. So that all you need is the protocols that, there you go, that deliver results fast in the shortest amount of time without the noise and confusion that comes with losing fat and gaining muscle. That's why I built the Business Athlete Hub, which is now available for free. Here's what you get. Ba, 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 ba. The first group call will be da da da. So this one, very direct. I don't think it's trash. What I would change would be you don't need another course because we're trying to sell them the idea of another course. And then this sentence is very long. I would see if I can break that up. But the rest is good enough. John, don't you guys have to sell against GLP-1s throughout the customer journey, or is the target audience already convinced? Good question. There is a part of the audience that has used GLP-1s before, and there's another part of the audience that is interested in GLP-1s for sure. And yes, there are people who probably are saying like, no, I don't. There was a prospect recently actually who's like, I don't want to start on GLP-1s because I don't want to have to do that for the rest of my life. Right? So there are people who've decided they don't, but there are people who've decided that they do as well. Those people who have done GLP-1s, either I don't want to keep paying for it is one of the reasons they want to get off. Two, I know that if I get off of it, everything's going to reverse, right? So I want something that's long term and consistent, and I don't want to have to rely on this drug the rest of my life. But there are going to be people who are like, just give me the easy pill. Let me do the thing. I'm going to inject myself every day. Done. Simple. Those people we can't sell to. Like, whatever. They've decided on GLP-1s, it's fine. But we do have a YouTube video that did really well. I don't know how long ago it was. I think just a few weeks. That was foods that are like GLP-1s or that trigger the same things as GLP-1s or something like that. So there's enough awareness in the market that we can talk about GLP-1s, but it doesn't make sense to position against GLP-1s for people who've already decided that they want to do it. It only makes sense for people who are trying to not start or for people who are trying to get off of GLP-1s. So just making sure that our messaging speaks like that. Anybody else in chat from the challenge who wants us to review their stuff, or are we good to go on to the Virgin shoes? There are people who work out who use GLP-1s. So there is an overlap there. It's not just people who don't work out. And Americans, just as a general rule, are so lazy and so willing to spend money on stupid stuff. So, like, this is something that I had to come to terms with after spending enough time in the US and selling to enough Americans. Like, Americans are so dumb in the way that they buy. It's crazy. Like, if you guys have never been to the US, the thing that shocked me the most was how capitalistic it was to the point where it's where I am, very socialist, very minimal capitalism here, right? So I go into a grocery store or a pharmacy or whatever, there are two brands of everything. There's the red thing or the blue thing, right? I either buy the red one or the blue one. That's it. That's how I decide. If I want facial moisturizer, I buy the green one or the blue one. If I want like a soft drink, I'm either buying Coca-Cola or Bet, right? Like most things, there are just two competing brands. When I went to the US to live there for the first time, the first month I spent in New York City, I had to go to a pharmacy to get band-aids. Very, very simple task. You would think I would just walk in here, we have one brand of band-aids, right? I go in and I buy the ones that are the sides that I need. That's how I'm making my decision. I go into a pharmacy in the US to buy band-aids. There are like 50 brands of band-aids and they all have different copy on the box. Even though they're the same sides, I have no idea which one to pick. Like it's so overwhelming the number of choices that I have and the claims that they're making. I just want the one that's going to stick to my skin, right? Horse for sale type shit. But there were way too many. Like I spent probably 15 minutes, maybe not that much, but I spent way too long standing there looking at the Band-Aid wall. Like, which ones do I buy? I don't even know. It doesn't make sense, right? So the US, very much like that. You drive down the street. Again, I don't know what it's like where you live. Where I live, we don't have a billboard every 30 seconds. In the US, they absolutely have billboards everywhere, advertising everything all the time. Most of them suck, so a lot of opportunity. But the amount of capitalism that there is, people are just so convinced that they need to buy everything all the time. So I'm not Canadian, first of all. And then second of all, where I live is socialist. The rest of Canada is more like the US. So yeah, Vantage Prime. Yeah, so I live in Quebec specifically. Yeah, yes, and we can look at your submission after. Um, so Quebec is the same way as Finland, right? So like me and Alvar, basically our countries are the same in the way that they operate democratically and capitalistically. So in the capitalism spectrum, socialism is one of the, I guess, like groups of beliefs. And then socialism is a spectrum as well, where you have stuff that's super extreme, where you've got like Marxism, Leninism, whatever. I don't know what or what the communism types are, but there's like super communism where the state and the people own everything, or sorry, the people own everything, and then there's like state intervention, and then there's like free market, right? Like a whole range of things that you can believe. Super communism is the worst one, it's the scariest. It's but in the like if we take the spectrum like this and we say super communism is on this side and then super capitalism is on this side, we'll say socialism is like a left middle belief, the type of socialism that me and Alvar's countries do, not Canada but Quebec and Finland, and I don't know about the rest of the Nordic countries. They might be like this as well, but they're closer to the end. You have democratic socialism and you have social democratic, right? So you have social democracy and then democratic socialism. Social democracy is the one that's a little bit closer to communism. Democratic socialism is the one that's a little bit, no, sorry, I think I got it reversed. Uh, you've got more of like a capitalistic tendency to socialism if you come more this way on the spectrum. And me and Alvar's countries, we are kind of capitalism where we have like mostly the same kind of rules as like US, Canada, and all that. And I don't know which European countries operate more capitalistically, but we have more capitalism. There's no desire for the people to own the means of reproduction or of production or anything like that. But our governments do control a lot of stuff and they use our taxes very well to provide to like the social welfare of society. So no, not liberal socialists. I don't know if that's a category, but that's what me and Alvar's countries do. So US, very much the opposite of that. That was a huge culture shock. Okay, then I'll have to look into that one. But it was a huge culture shock for me to go to the US to see how much availability of everything there is, and then also how much people are so convinced that they need to spend their money all the time on everything, and how that's like so deeply ingrained in their culture and their society and their belief systems. So pretty whack. I think they're dumb, but this is the type of people who we sell to. So when it comes to something like what nationality do I identify what with? Oh, do I identify with? Let me show you the most beautiful place in the world. This is mine. 3 times bigger than Texas, by the way. There is no metric by which you can tell me Quebec is not the best place in North America. Other than like if we look at pure money metrics, yes, there are more rich people other places than in Quebec, but literally everything else, Quebec is the best in Canada and the best in North America. I am Quebecois, yes. So this is, I don't know where they have that. There we go. Quebecois, let's fucking go. And we've been around a long time. But back to this real quick. Jump into this one. That's literally me, by the way. So the only time that I've seen and touched capybaras was actually in Texas. I did not see any at all during the 3 months that I was in Argentina. Okay. Donc. Whose fault is it when people like you struggle to lose fat? The hidden fat loss clock that's stealing your results. What do you guys think I think of these hooks? Yeah, I agree with you, Sonia. It's a little bit this one's a little bit too abrasive, and this one is a little bit too gimmicky, I would say, for Dr. Mike. Yeah, correct. Like you don't ever want to put the blame on the person who's reading it. Like I was saying earlier, everyone always wants to believe that they're doing their best and they're doing as much as possible and da da da. So for me to say people like you struggle to lose fat, yes, I'm kind of alleviating that when I'm saying whose fault is it really that this thing happens? But the way that it's written right now, just the word choice makes it sound like it's still targeting me a little bit. So feels like the headlines for a misleading product. Yeah, so the word choice, not fantastic, I would say. If I were to rewrite it, how would I rewrite it? I would probably say something along the lines of like going with the alt hook. I don't think that the secret is a bad idea. I think it's just the way that it's written is not fantastic. So let's actually read the rest of the copy first, and then we'll see. You've been working out, eating right, doing everything you were told would burn fat while fitting your busy lifestyle, yet the fat won't bulge or budge. Here's the thing, almost every man and woman over 35 struggling to lose fat, especially those ready to give up, fail because no one ever told them this. Mainstream fitness advice doesn't work for busy people like you. You don't want another complicated diet or long workout that eats up your time. You're stressed, working 50 to 60-hour work weeks, and trying to keep up with meetings and family commitments. So what's the catch? They give generic health advice that doesn't account for your unique needs. That's why I put together the nutrition mini course. What do you guys think? Yeah, a why this happens frame would probably sound a lot less aggressive. Sonia says no. I also say no, but a little bit more gently. My big thing with this is that it doesn't feel super appealing. I don't feel like I'm getting anything out of reading this, and it feels like it jumps around a lot. So the idea that your fat won't budge because there's this hidden force, I was thinking it'll be better that we're pointing it out as being the reader's fault. It's giving them power, and then give them ingredients that they don't know exist. So no, because nobody wants to be blamed for anything ever. Like that's the big thing here. So with this one, you've been working out, eating right, doing everything you were told would burn fat while fitting your busy lifestyle, but the fat won't budge. As an idea, this is good. It's the idea of you hit a plateau and you have no idea what to do next. Can we present the hook in a way that's more appealing to those people? Instead of whose fault, I think it maybe should be the real reason. Yeah. So the why, correct. I see that Yasin is typing, so we'll let him speak his piece. Also, Joan, you talked about saying it's not your fault. It's actually the unique mechanism of the problem. Yeah, 100%. So that's like just very basically, if you can do that, that's usually the right way to do it. So the real reason you hit a plateau is actually this. Yasin, what do you think? I need to rewrite it because the idea in my head is really good. Okay. So I'll let you rewrite it, and then if you want to bring it up for office hours next week, like remind me, and then we can review it. Good. Can you see the second one? Yes. If you're serious about kicking the fat out of your body, is this something that you found in your research that people are saying? Yes? Okay, cool. So if you're serious about kicking the fat out of your body, you need to know this. You're not looking for another 2-hour gym session, a 1-hour YouTube video, or a podcast in perfect form. Oh, I think it might have been you who I was thinking of earlier when I was calling out Yusuf, because I remember that we had talked about the same thing that I was scolding Yusuf about just now. My bad, Yusuf. That's on me. I apologize if he's still here. Oh, he is. Okay. You already have 40-plus-hour work weeks, clients to manage, family commitments. Chances are you tried more than one way to lose weight, and one of the biggest struggles isn't physical anymore, it's emotional. In my experience, nearly everyone who wants to lose fat. This looks familiar. In my experience, nearly everyone who wants to lose fat falls into one of these groups. The mirror problem. Clothes fit wrong, jokes get harder, you don't feel like yourself. The I tried everything trap. Diets, workout, supplements, nothing sticks. The one nobody talks about, your partner notices, you feel like yourself. Is it supposed to be you don't feel like yourself? Okay. Yeah, we'll address all the comments in a sec. The busy business athlete, 50 to 60-hour work weeks, stress, don't want another complicated diet or workout. What happens next? You start thinking losing weight at my age, not possible because of that. My team and I prepared this, and then transition to the offer. So just looking at this, lots of comments. So I'll let you guys know what you're saying is correct and what that you're saying is not correct. For me, biggest thing leading with the idea, if you're serious about kicking fat out of your body, you need to know this. That's good, right? So this, cool. You're not looking for another 2-hour gym session, 1-hour YouTube video, or podcast. This, for me, kind of misses the mark because these are alternative solutions. The 1-hour YouTube video, yes, whoever pointed that out, probably best not to position against YouTube because that's what we're doing. Podcasts, we know that a lot of people watch podcasts. 2-hour gym sessions, we know that a lot of people are doing 2-hour gym sessions. But the execution here of this line is a little bit funky because a 2-hour gym session is something that I'm doing. A podcast is something that I'm consuming, right? So the examples aren't really aligning with each other. It would make sense if I were like, you don't need another diet, exercise, supplement stack. Or it would make sense if I said, you don't need, like Yusuf said, like another YouTube video, course, or podcast, right? Because those things are all the same category of thing. So it sounds like it sounds better. It sounds like it makes more sense. I found this in your comment on YouTube since you mentioned that I'll work on it. I don't understand what you mean, I'm sorry. While you just clear that up, I'll keep going. You already have 40+ hour work weeks, clients to manage, and family commitments. Chances are you've tried more than one way to lose weight, and one of the biggest struggles isn't physical anymore, it's emotional. Now, these are. I'll actually let you finish typing before I keep going so you can pay attention. Okay, cool. So these lines, you already have 40+ hour work weeks, clients to manage, family commitments. You tried more than one way to lose weight. Your biggest struggle isn't physical anymore, it's emotional. So, do you believe that this is true of the target audience? Do you think that they're thinking to themselves, the real reason why I can't lose weight is an emotional problem? I agree with your take because I've never seen that. Well, yes, you can make an argument for it. Like in sales calls, people talk about this sometimes, but I would not say that that's a big, like a big driver that we should try to hit on. So I would modify that for sure. In my experience, nearly everyone who wants to lose fat falls into one of these groups: one, two, three, four. What happens next? How do the four groups relate to the line that comes after that? I would definitely Google it too because I have no idea how to spell that. Yeah, so I agree that the 4 points don't seem like they provide any value. If we wanted to do something like that for categorization, what we could do is be like, hey, there are four groups of people, or if you're trying to lose weight, you need to do it in one of these four ways. If you're type of person one, then you need this. If you're type of person two, then you need this. If you're type of person three, you need this. If you're type of person four, you need this. So that is, excuse me, if you're going to use a list, use it more like a identification or like a quiz or something like that. Here, it doesn't really relate to what's going on in the rest of the copy. You start thinking losing weight at my age, not possible. I know that that's a common thing, but what do you feel, Yassine, you're missing between this line and this line? Yeah. So what do you feel like you're missing if you had to add something between those two specifically? You don't need to tell me what the copy would be, but like what would be the concept or the like the idea of what is missing? Explain why. Exactly. So you're not telling me what the real reason is. You're just saying, "Hey, you can't lose weight because you're old?" Well, that's why I created the group. Right? It's like, "What? What do you mean?" What would make it a lot smoother would be, "Hey, you're at an age where you feel like you can't lose weight anymore. The reason is because of this, and I have the solution." So just like in all of the other narratives that we've talked about so far, unique mechanism of the problem, unique mechanism of the solution, offer, super, super simple structure. So if everyone here just wants to burn that into their brain, you've got your lead, you go into your problem, you go into your solution. The solution is the offer, call to action. Super, super simple, very simplified, obviously, but super simple structure. And then whatever you do should kind of fit into that. Do you want us to look at any of this, Yassine, or are we good? You're allowed to judge whatever you want. I only make everything seem obvious because I've done it so many times. So I'm like, of course, right? But you will develop this level of awareness for yourself as well. If you just keep reading, you keep writing, you look at other people's copy, and then you like look at it through that lens of if I were to be critical of it, what would I say and why? And kind of ask yourself those types of questions. So for Yassine, we're good. Also, if you want to redo this one, like whichever ones you want to redo, if any of you guys want to redo any of them, just let me know next office hours and we can review everything. Who's ready for this one? 3 video ad scripts for shoes for back pain, or I guess not back pain, foot pain, I think. I guess pain in general. So last time, if you guys remember, we talked about breaking up the ideas into 3 different scripts because we had one script that was trying to do everything at the same time. Now we're looking at one script that's the real cause of plantar fasciitis, which is like ouchies in my feet. We've got these shoes that are built for this are attractive, like they're made to look aesthetic and look nice. Yeah, if you want to, so rewrite whatever you feel you want to rewrite, and then just next office hours, remind me that we're going to review it and we can review it. Is there a schedule to when we gather, like once a week? Yes, go into the left side of Discord, scroll all the way to the top, like where the channels are, scroll all the way to the top. There will be events, and then there's an event called office hours. Just click on interested on that, and then that event is going to show you the time and the date for every office hours. And when we start, it'll ping you to say office hours is starting. So we've got aesthetic shoes, and then we've got hip pain, I guess is the third idea. So here, the angle is, we'll just see what we have time for next time. Yeah, I know. I like to tell you guys that I'm not committed to things and then do them anyway because I love you all. So it's whatever. The real reason why most plantar fasciitis shoes suck is because they don't solve the root cause of your plantar fasciitis. This is why most orthopedic shoes or most orthopedic pain relief shoes suck. If your plantar fasciitis keeps coming back, you need to watch this. Stop buying orthopedic shoes if you have plantar fasciitis. Can orthopedic shoes make plantar fasciitis worse? Here's what the science says. I love that. Our shoes don't make your plantar fasciitis worse, and there's a reason for that. POV, you have plantar fasciitis, replace your orthopedic shoes with strengthening shoes and don't hobble to the loo in the morning anymore. So I would say my 3 favorite ones are this one. This one I really, really like because you could very easily support that with like the whatever footage you're going to use. You could have different pieces of footage, like someone happily walking, someone like jumping, like an old person jumping or something. So that one's really, really good. And then I like if you were to do this one with, I don't know if this would be the exact language that you would want to use, but if you were to do something like that and you're like holding up one of the competitors' shoes, or there's just some kind of visual of a thing that they would recognize that they've probably bought, and then you're saying this thing is bad. That I think is a good visual and also copy hook. Yeah, splitting it in half with a saw if you want to do that. Like, I forget if it was Sean or Rod who said that. But yes. You've probably wasted thousands on expensive shoes, but still getting the stabbing heel pain in the morning, still feeling frustrated because you can't go out for a run, or even on walks with your husband, and still craving to finally feel normal again, right? Because what most women want, or what most women with plantar fasciitis don't realize, is that most supportive shoes are not designed to solve the real problem. Let me explain. So here's a little formatting tip for you guys. When you're writing a script, do it in block paragraphs. It's going to be a lot easier to read on the teleprompter. This is not related, to Dr. Mike. So when you're writing scripts, like just write normally instead of writing with a bunch of line breaks. Because when someone's reading it from a teleprompter, the teleprompter scrolls, right? And so if you have, let's say your screen is this big on your teleprompter, if you have just a few words on a line, it's going to go too slowly and you're going to be speaking faster than you read. Whereas if you have normal sized paragraphs, you'll be able to read through it and it'll just like it'll flow naturally. And if there's a break, then let's say I've got like paragraph one, paragraph two, paragraph three, and I mess up in paragraph three, just take it back to the beginning of paragraph three, restart from there, and it's a lot easier for me to keep track like that. Not no line breaks, but paragraph breaks where it makes sense. Slippery slide effect, I don't know what. Oh, like a copywriting thing, or are we talking about teleprompters? I'll see you on the next one. All right, I'll wait for our boy to finish typing. But while he does that, let me explain. Plantar fasciitis happens when you, yeah, slippery slope, I think is what it's called. But slippery slope is like where it's just getting progressively more, I guess, like emotionally heavy or whatever. Like it's making people want to continue reading. So, yes. Let me explain. Plantar fasciitis happens when you continuously put too much pressure on the plantar fascia, the thick band of tissue that runs along the bottom of the foot. This excessive pressure causes the plantar fascia to stretch beyond its limits and for micro tears to appear. It may seem small, and you guys can imagine as we're going through this, like the images that would be on screen would be supporting this more sciencey take. It may seem small, but it's like pulling a rubber band until it snaps. And that's why so many women with plantar fasciitis struggle with stabbing heel pain in the morning. Okay, so here, what I would say is the visual that you're creating for me is that rubber band snaps. I can never put a rubber band back together. So I don't know if this is the best thing for you to make me think about, because then I would automatically think, oh, so if I've done enough damage, I just can't repair it. Like my feet are done. I'm dead. So I would probably change that, just the way that you present it, or potentially, I don't know if you would use a different metaphor instead, but I would change that line for sure. That's why so many women with plantar fasciitis struggle with stabbing heel pain in the morning and burning, aching feet after a day on the move, not necessarily because of menopause or age. Do women believe that their foot pain can be caused by menopause? Okay. Not necessarily because of menopause or age, but because their plantar fascia is overloaded and overstretched. Now, the way to stop that rubber band from snapping and prevent your plantar, so yeah, if you're going to change the rubber band visual there, just changing it here as well, prevent your plantar fascia from getting micro tears is by reducing the pressure placed on it. And the way this study from the University of Queensland reveals you do that is by having strong intrinsic foot muscles. Because when those muscles are strong, they can take some of the pressure away from the fascia and prevent it from overstretching. One thing you'll probably want to do here that you'll notice in a lot of health promos is when you present the science part of it, you say something like, it's a lot simpler than it sounds. Right. So, for example, with Dr. Mike, I'm writing a cookbook right now for burning visceral fat. And the mechanism that I'm talking about is 8 hormones that control visceral fat storage. Now, when I say that, it sounds complicated, but let me break it down for you so that it's actually really simple. And once you understand this, it's very, very easy to control or to regulate these hormones and to see the positive effects on your visceral fat storage, right? So, something like that. If you're saying here, now the way to stop these rubber bands from snapping and from getting micro tears is by reducing the pressure placed on it. And the way this study from the University of Queensland reveals you do that is by having strong intrinsic foot muscles. That starts to sound a little bit complicated. So, what I would say instead is something like, and don't worry, because this study from the University of Queensland revealed that it's actually really easy to reduce the pressure that you're placing on your feet. All you need to do is develop your foot muscles. And most shoes don't do that, but there is a way to do that that's super effective, and it's with our shoes. So that's how I would structure that. Again, this is very like micro changes. I'm being super nitpicky here, but that would help the reader, I think. That would probably, or not the reader, but the viewer. That would help the viewer not disqualify and stay with the narrative a little bit more easily because you're making it sound easy and simple and like anyone can do it. Question: is it a good idea to have any links in your copy apart from your product? I would say rule of one, mostly. So just focusing on one action. Oh no, that was for me. Oh yes, okay, I see what he's referring to. Yeah, this is just like because our boy is he understands the concept of proof, right? And he knows that probably if I saw this claim, I would have been like, "Oh, do you have proof?" Right? I love the then but. Yeah. Things like if, then, but, and like when you're using those strategically and you're being intentional about the way that you're using them, it's a thing that can make a difference. Because when those muscles are strong, they can take over some of the pressure from your fascia. This, if you have the visuals on screen, I would think that it works, right? So it kind of, yeah, therefore as well. It kind of sounds complicated if we're just reading it, but if you have pictures or if you have B-roll, I think that this would be okay. Oops. Ah. Now this is where most orthopedic shoes fail you. Sure. Yeah, this is just for a script, so they're not going to be clicking on anything. Perhaps another metaphor is needed. Yeah, I would say so. This so far is good. Just skimming through the rest of it as well, it seems pretty good. I think that you can realign it with a different metaphor. So I would think like, what are things that either maybe like a car metaphor? I don't know if that would be fantastic since this is for old ladies. What do old ladies interact with regularly? They would understand something that gets used over time that needs to be replaced. Old ladies never replace anything. Um, anyone have any ideas? Something that just gets like abused because it's being used over and over and over again. Canes? No, we're not. It's not that old. Yeah, good idea. So see if you can find another metaphor and then rewrite this. The structure of it is good though. Like you understand what you're trying to do. You're revealing the real reason is this science, and the other shoes don't have this science, and we do have this science. So that's why our stuff works better. Yeah, so make that change. I know we can review again. And I'm just going to try to go through these quick because I just saw what time it is. All right. This one is for cute shoes. I struggle with plantar fasciitis, but I hate shoes that are too clunky or heavy. POV, what your outfits look like after finally finding cute plantar fasciitis shoes. POV, you found a shoe that actually helps with your foot pain and is actually cute. If you feel embarrassed because you have to wear gym shoes all the time for your foot pain, this is for you. These foot pain relief shoes are not for you if you hate cute shoes. I struggle with the foot pain and it used to feel so embarrassing. Okay. And I read through the visual directions as well. So I would say my favorite ones here are this one, if the clunky or chunky and heavy is VOC, which I believe you told me last week it is. So I like that. I like this one. And then this one. So those would be the three that, if you handed me these six, we would run all six. But I would say if I had to bet, one of these three would probably work best. So it's really cool. These are the pain relief shoes from Version. And they're actually podiatrist approved for plantar fasciitis and heel pain. Most cute shoes have my feet screaming after a few hours of walking. Custom inserts are too expensive for me, and orthopedic shoes look too much like old lady shoes. If you wanted some visual directions here, you would just be showing all of these things on screen. And if anyone's ever seen an e-commerce UGC ad, this is like the standard script format, so this is good. But these I've found to be the perfect mix between cute, affordable, and supportive. I can quickly slip them on and wear them with summery outfits, dresses, or even for work. And then after a day on the move, my feet won't feel like they're on fire. That's because these version shoes have a shock absorbing midsole that protects my feet on concrete, contoured arch support that keeps my arch from collapsing and stops that stabbing heel pain, cushioned heel support, and a stretchy Flyknit upper something that gives my toes room to breathe. They're also machine washable, so very easy to maintain. You can try them risk-free. What is the benefit of the cushioned heel support? At what time will you guys launch the post community submissions? Whenever I have a chance to set those up. I've just been really busy, like yesterday and the day before that. So maybe today, if I have the time. But it depends on how sleepy I am after this. It takes a lot out of me to hang out with you guys for 3.5 hours. I'm heel spurs. Okay, so I would just mention that. Like shock absorbing midsole to protect your feet, this to keep your arch from collapsing, and this for whatever reason. They're also super comfy. They're also machine washable. If you don't like them, yeah. So this, I would say, other than that little addition, this one is really solid. You can definitely join me while I sleep. I will give you my address right now. It is 124 Western in Waterloo, Quebec. J0E2N0 is my postal code. And then here. So why do you think people over 40 get hip pain? So why do you think people should stop resting if they have hip pain? Dr. D. Ashford reveals why hip pain is actually caused by your feet. If your hip pain keeps coming back, you need to watch this. Did you know hip pain might not be caused by your hips? So I like the idea of the real reason why you have hip pain. I don't believe that any of these do a good enough job communicating that. This, the way it starts is good. The way it ends feels weird. And then the other ones, just like overall, I don't like them. That doesn't mean they wouldn't work. I might be wrong. But so why do you think people over 40 get hip pain? I guess this one's good. Like I understand what you're trying to do. Oops. I understand what you're trying to do with that. So I see the concept here. If you have Dr. D. Ashford, is that a man or a woman? Man? Him? Man, okay. So if you have him sitting like where it looks obvious that he's a doctor, and maybe you have something on screen that says like Dr. D. Ashford, podiatrist, or whatever he is, then this makes sense. So that would be okay. Why do you think people should stop resting if they have hip pain is confusing? Right? Like I don't know if me as a person, like an old lady with hip pain, if I'm thinking that I would ever want to stop resting or if I would ever think resting is going to fix my hip pain. My grandmother spent like 3 years before she got her hip replaced. That's the upside of socialism. And like my aunt as well, a lot of people I know who are older in like my grandmother's circle, because those are the ladies I hang out with who had hip pain. I've heard a lot of their stories, and none of them felt like their hip pain got better when they rested, right? So like this isn't a solution, but then this also isn't something that's top of mind for them. Dr. D. Ashford reveals why hip pain is actually caused by your feet. So this one I like because of the authority in the beginning. I don't like because I don't know how believable it is for you to say it's actually caused by your feet. Like, will I see that and be like, oh, you're right. My feet are causing my hip pain, or even to the point where I'm like, huh, maybe my feet are causing my hip pain. I don't think I think like that's too far, right? So being more general is something like Dr. D. Ashford reveals the real reason why you have hip pain, and it's not whatever. Yeah, exactly. Like you're skipping too far ahead. So it would be better for you to say it's not the other things that you think it is versus it is this other thing that's too much of a stretch. If your hip pain keeps coming back, you need to watch this. That's fine, but I feel like people, and again, this is my bias, so I might be wrong, but I feel like people who are suffering from hip pain, the hip pain doesn't go away, right? Like it's not something where one day I'll be like, oh, okay, cool, no hip pain. And the next day I'm like, fuck, my hips, right? It's something that's going to be constant, whether I'm standing or I'm sitting, whether I'm walking or I'm running, whether I'm like in the grocery store or visiting my grandkids. No matter what, the hip pain is going to be there. It's just varying degrees of hip pain, as opposed to more of a binary, it's there or it's not. Did you know hip pain might not be caused by your hips? And there, I don't know if I would go with that one because the hip pain isn't caused by the hips, and I don't know if anyone would think the hip pain is caused by the hips. The hip pain is just where I feel the hip. Or sorry, the hip is just where I feel the hip pain. So I would be probably thinking to myself, like, my hips are in pain because my joints are messed up, because there's no more cartilage, because I got into an accident, because I fell down the stairs, right? Like, there's a different cause to my hip pain, and it's not my hips are the reason for my hip pain. Technically, yes, like whatever's happening there, the reason is because it's there. But I, based on what I've heard from my grandmother and all of her friends and all the people who have hip pain who are old, this isn't something that they would be thinking. So hooks, those are those are my thoughts. It's really simple, but if you feel sharp pain around the outer hip, if your hip aches after walking or standing for too long, or if you feel general pain around the buttocks, groin, front of the hip, or upper thigh area, the real cause of that pain might have nothing to do with your hips and instead everything to do with your feet. Have you read Great Leads? Yeah, so go back, reread Great Leads, and read the section on secret leads. What Mark Ford says in there, I think, is something that is going to be really good for you to internalize. He talks about revealing the, I guess, like the benefits, the desires, the pains, whatever, like talking about all that stuff to build tension and build tension and build tension before you pull the curtain off. Yeah, exactly. Give crumbs before you pull the curtain back, sorry, and reveal what the mechanism or the thing is. So here we're saying, don't you hate having pain? Well, the real cause is actually your feet, right? Then I have to make a decision then and there. Do I believe it or do I not believe it? If I believe it, then I'll keep watching. If I don't believe it, then I'm going to just like stop, right? So if you continue to build the tension instead, and you do something like, what if I told you that the real cause of hip pain has nothing to do with thing number one that you've been told, thing number two that you've been told, thing number three? Yeah, this is probably problem aware copy. Thing number three that you've been told. Well, the reality is that none of those things account for what's really happening. And once you know what's really happening, then you can get benefit one, get benefit two, get benefit three, get benefit four, get benefit five. And that will allow you to dimensionalize scenario of how great your life is going to be. But if you follow the traditional advice of thing one, thing two, thing three, then that's never going to happen. Which is why I want to tell you what the real cause is for hip pain, because it's not those other things that you hate. It's actually this thing. Whoa, right? So like, if you do a build up like that, of course, my example is very redundant, but if you do a build up more like that, and you build the tension, and you build the tension, and you build the tension, by the time you reveal it's actually feet, I'm so bought into whatever the solution would have been that I'm willing to listen to you talk about feet. Now, Jonathan, he's always willing to listen to you talk about feet forever. Like, no, you could just say, "Hey, let's talk about feet." I would fucking be there with my tongue out. But for the old ladies who are watching this ad, I feel like if you wait longer to reveal that, then it'll it'll serve you a lot better. Rar indeed. So should he add research and scientific literature which proves potentially if it makes sense? But if it doesn't make sense, then no. All right, so I'll let you go rework those and then we can review again. My friends, it has been a good 2.5 hours, and I appreciate you all sticking with me through this. Could I send you a super quick DM about this? Uh, Guys, why can't I just have time to myself? Yes, please send me a super quick DM. I don't promise that I'll get to it today, though. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for coming. Between now and next week, I guess we've got a pretty full plate. Next week, reviewing more of the stuff that we reviewed today. But if there's anything else that you want to talk about, yeah, thanks for joining us. This is, I think, the first time I've seen you. What's your real name so that I don't have to call you your Discord name? Oh, everyone wants to get pinged for this. Also, if you could go just through the list of the people who submitted their community post thing to the challenge, if you could ping all of them as well, those who weren't here, that would be really cool, just so that they can like see the feedback that I gave to everybody else. Dove is fine. Oh, okay, cool. What language is your name in? I'm curious now. Yeah, yeah. If you want to just ping me, then I'll do an at everyone. That would be cool. All right, everybody, it was a pleasure having you. Are we all good to go? Or is there any last minute things that you want me to spend an hour answering or reviewing? Arabic? Nice. Which country are you from? Oh, I can't make this sound either. Hamama. Benin Republic in West Africa. Let's fucking go. That's sick. I don't know if we have any other CC. I'm sure we do, but I don't know of anybody else who's from Benin. You should get a watch so when everyone's. If I got a watch, it would be an Apple Watch, and then I would tap it twice, and it would be like, it's 3:21 p.m. Do I still have time to rewrite and submit my copy by adding your tweaks and making my copy stand out? Potentially. We'll see how I feel. I'm not going to give you an answer because I don't have the brain power to like. I would have to figure out timelines and stuff and do logistics, and I don't want to do that right now. But if you do rewrite it and it looks good next week, then remind me and be like, hey, can we just put it up? And we can try that. All right, friends. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you. And I will see you all next week at 1 p.m. Eastern, which is 6 p.m. GMT, which I learned recently. Everybody everywhere else in the world uses their time zone as GMT plus or minus whatever. So I'm going to start doing that. But I'll see you all at 1 p.m. Eastern next week or 6 p.m. GMT. Thanks again, everyone, for joining. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. Love you guys, and I will see you when we get back.